Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing something a lot of fun. So here's all of my DK / light worsted weight yarns, as well as some of my thinner worsted weight yarns. So basically the whole premise is I'm going to be making something out of 3 random colors. Here I've got like my smaller skeins. These I got in a big pack when I first started out as a gift. So these have been super helpful because even though some of the colors are quite bright, most of the time when I need a small amount of a specific color, I just have it here and I could just get it whenever I want without having to go out and buy a skein. So that's been super helpful. Here I've got all the skeins that I've bought. So these are obviously larger. These are the ones that I usually use. Like I've got the more normal colors, blue, off-white, yellow. I used up my white skein and forgot to buy a new one. And usually it's among these like regular colors. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to mix in one of my small whites in with here when I pick so that it's a bit more fair because white is a pretty important color, I'd say. I've already sorted out all of the doubles from this bin, so we don't have to worry about getting 3 of the same color, which is great. So how I'm going to pick is I'm going to pick 2 randomly from here because these are like mostly the same shape, same size, and I won't be able to tell which color I'm picking. And to pick these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number them all 1 through 18 and then pick a number randomly so that there's no bias towards ones that are smaller or larger or differently shaped. So yeah, let's start by picking some of these. So I'm just going to reach in here and close my eyes and pick one. And we got this purple here. This is a nice lavender color. I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up, but it's like a soft lavender kind of color. It looks kind of bluish through the viewfinder, but that just may be me. Okay, let's pick another one. And we've got this nice pink. This is like a dusty rose kind of pink. Well, it's a bit more pigmented than dusty rose. So it's, I don't know, it's just, yeah. So yeah, I'm going to number all these and I'll be back to pick. Alright, so here's the color palette we have to work with. Just by chance, it happened to be, very pink and purple. So these colors are kind of like cotton candy-ish, unicornish. You know what? We may make a unicorn. Yeah, we may make a pink unicorn and use these other 3 colors as main colors, because I think that would be nice. It would have been so much cooler if we'd gotten like a blue or something to use as a contrast color, but obviously we can't do that. Just so that this video isn't like half a second long, I think I'm going to go through all these patterns as I make them too, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, let's get started on this. Okay, so to start this, I think I'm going to start with a magic ring. I think we're going to start at the head of the unicorn and then work our way down. I kind of don't feel like sewing pieces together right now, so I'm just going to try and make it in one big piece. For the snout, I'm not sure how many stitches to make in the magic ring. Let's go with 4. Because I think 6, like the standard, may be a bit much. Okay, so yeah, there's the 4 stitches. And I think we're just going to increase in every stitch. And there we got the tip of our snout. I think we're just going to increase once in each row to try and get like a gradual sort of increase. Or maybe we'll increase twice. Yeah, I think we'll increase twice and see how that goes. Okay, so now this is what we have. I think it's kind of hard to see on camera because it's so small, but I increased where the stitch marker is and I increased across from it over here. So that's what I did in this row. And for the next row, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase in the top stitch where the stitch marker is and kind of make that part a little bit larger. And I think I'm going to do that for 3 more rows. Okay, so now it's gotten large enough where we can turn it inside out pretty safely. So just going to do that. Looking at it now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a single crochet in every stitch in this row. I know it's like kind of hard to see what I'm trying to create because it's so small and it's so early on, but hopefully this is making some sense. So now you can see a little bit how the top is sloping up more than the bottom is. The bottom is just kind of flat and the top is sloping upwards. So yeah, that's exactly what we want. And from here, I think I'm going to start creating the head, like branching off of here. I'm just going to single crochet to around this point. See where I'm pointing on both sides. And then I'm going to start increasing in every stitch there, and that's going to start creating the top of the head while the bottom remains kind of flat. So yeah, that's what we're looking for the next round. I think in the following rounds after that, I'm going to do something a bit different, and I'll explain that as we get to it. As you can see there, the surface is a little bit raised where I just did those increases. I just increased in 4 stitches across the top to create that. So the neck is obviously going to be coming out the bottom like that. So we can't make any more stitches there, or it'll just keep on pushing the neck further and further back as we make the top of the head. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to do a technique that I don't really use very often. I think I'm just going to keep on crocheting over these top stitches, but not touching the bottom, like just turning here and going back around and turning and back around. So for the next row, I'm just going to crochet in the top 4 stitches across the top, and then I'll just single crochet in the rest. And when I get to about like that point, I'll turn and then go back around and continue doing that until the head is formed. And this technique just involves a lot of checking, looking, making sure everything's going well. So I'm at the first turning point, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain 1, and then I'm just going to turn the work and continue back the other way. I think I'm just going to do a couple rows of just single crochet in all of the stitches. Well, not all of the stitches, not the ones on the bottom. Honestly, I think this video is going to be like all over the place. And this gap here is getting pretty large, so what I'm going to do, what I sometimes do, is I'm going to slip stitch into this next stitch here, but then just turn back around and go the other way, because it'll help to blend it in a little bit more. And then after I slip stitched, it's a little more blended down now, and I'm just going to turn the other way and continue with what I was doing, just doing the single crochets in all the stitches, and I'll just do that slip stitch thing on the other side as well. And I don't think I'm going to do the chain 1s now that there's a slip stitch here, kind of acting as it, if that makes any sense. Okay, so here's the piece so far. I've just done a couple of just rows of single crochets, of course joining it to this piece so that this part doesn't get too large. At this point, I'm pretty happy with it, and I think I'm going to close off the head now. So I'm going to decrease 4 times along the top, just like how I increased 4 times, and I'm going to do another round of doing that. So I'm going to do that twice and hopefully get this back to the diameter that it was. Okay, so I just finished the head. So next, I'm just going to single crochet around this opening for a couple rows. Okay, so I'm finished crocheting the neck. This is what it looks like so far. I think it's coming out pretty well. Now we have to make the body, which I wasn't exactly sure how to make, because, you know, of course, I could always just make the body separately and sew this on, but I'm looking for like a more seamless look in this unicorn. So I thought about it for a minute. Then I remembered there's this book. It's called Hooked on Amigurumi by Melanie Merida. And in this book, there's this pattern for this Loch Ness monster. This is what it looks like. I did make that pattern, but I can't find that exact one right now. But I do have this dinosaur that I modified from that pattern. So basically, I just replaced the fins with just legs. But how that pattern was constructed, as you can see, it's got like kind of like a similar shape to mine. They're both like heads with necks, basically. And bodies attached to that. So how they made the body, they crocheted like the top of the back separately, then sewed on the top of the back, then worked this as like a continuous thing. So I think I'm going to do something similar to that, but I'm not going to crochet the back separately. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet as like a protrusion off of the side of this, and then kind of work it around in the same way. I think I'm going to chain off of here and then crochet on that until it's the width of this, and then I'll crochet downwards. Okay, so I finished this back piece. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start crocheting around this body, and I'm primarily going to increase at this point to try and make the back a bit more rounded. I'm not going to increase anything at the front because I want that to be flat and level with the neck. But I am going to do some increasing along the sides. Okay, so it's now the next day, and this is what we have so far. So what I'm going to do from here, I think I said it yesterday, I was just going to do like a gradual kind of increase to try and like bring this out a little bit. And to do that, I'm going to increase in every 6 stitches for 5 increases per row. Alright, so here's what that row just gave us. I'm liking how much this is sloping outwards, like at this rate. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep on doing 4 increases per row for the next row or two. So this row I would do 7 single crochets, then increase, and then the next row I would do 8, then increase. So that's where we're at right now. Then after that, I'm thinking maybe do a couple rows of just single crochets, and then we could start thinking about the legs. I know it seems to be just like a plain pink unicorn, but what I'm planning to do is maybe make the hooves a different color and then make the mane and the tail those other 2 colors. I'm hoping next round we get some colors that are a little more challenging than these, because these honestly go really well together and I really didn't have to do much thinking about it. Alright, so I just did 2 rows of increases. I really like how it's looking so far. I think I'm going to do 1 row of single crochets, except I'm going to increase just in the back here. Just to bring that out a little bit more, because I think it's not the right proportions right now. Of course it's supposed to be, you know, like a more whimsical kind of design, with like, you know, large head and smaller body, but I just want the body to be a little bit bigger. And after that row, I think we may be ready to start putting on the legs, which is really exciting. So I may do 1 more row before I attach the legs, though I'm not exactly sure about that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make the 4 legs, and then I'll kind of compare it to the body and see what I should do from there. Before I do that though, I'm just going to stuff the neck really fast. So to start the hooves, I think I'm going to do a magic ring, and I think I'm going to do 3 single crochets inside the magic ring. And I think I'm going to increase once per row. Okay, so there's my increase, and I'm just going to do 2 more single crochets in the 2 next stitches. And I think that's a good length for the hoof. So right now I'm going to switch to pink, and then just continue with probably increasing once every round from now on until I achieve the length I want for the leg. So I've just attached on all the legs. And now all that's left to do is close up the body and like make the small parts like the horn and the ears and stuff. So yeah, for the body, what I think I'm going to do is first I'm going to decrease around the front because I don't like how there's this gap here. I want to close that up a little bit. And then in the next round after that, I'm going to begin decreasing along these sides, and eventually when it gets small enough, I'll just sew it closed. And as I'm crocheting around, I'll crochet into these leg stitches all around to try and, you know, kind of join them to the body a little bit more. And I'll also decrease around here and around here to try and close up the legs a little bit more so that they're not so spread out. Alright, so I'm done crocheting the body. Right now I'm just going to add a little bit of stuffing, and then I'll close up the gap at the bottom. So obviously, since I can't make the horn yellow or silver or some color like that, I'm going to make it this darker pink. I'm also going to make the ears out of just the body color, and kind of nervous for those because they're going to be really, really tiny. Okay, so now we've come to the most fun part, and that's adding the mane and the tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut lengths of these 3 colors, and I don't know, maybe the lengths will be like 3-4 inches, and then I could trim them later if I want to. And I'm just going to slip knot them all along the back. Yeah. So now I feel like it's kind of necessary for us to do another round, given the fact that the first round we got such easy colors. Honestly, it looks like I cheated, but I promise I didn't. So we're gonna try again. Same method as last time. Okay, have my eyes closed. And we got this blue. It's like a sky blue with maybe some royal blue in it and maybe some green in it. It's a really pretty color overall. And let's pick another one. And we got this bright red. It's like a hot pink, and it's very bright, and I guess it matches the other one. Wait, actually, this color combination looks pretty familiar. I believe I made a character from Super Mario Odyssey, the video game, out of these colors. Let me go get it. Okay, so it turns out it wasn't that exact blue, but it's definitely got a similar color scheme. So it shows that these colors can go together very well. And this is Pokio from Super Mario Odyssey. Alright, so I'm gonna go set up the larger skeins so that we can pick from those as well. So I took a couple days to think about it. These colors are kind of like circus themed, so I was thinking about going that route. But then I realized that these were all the colors of a macaw minus white. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of those. Just because of all the color changes on that bird are really complicated to replicate in crochet, I'm going to create, just so I could get the pattern right, just like a plain bird in the style that I want it to be, so that when I'm making the real thing, I'll just have to add the colors. I don't think I'm going to film that, but I'll film the final where I add the colors. Alright, so I've got the model bird that I made here, and to get the coloring of the macaw onto this bird as like kind of like a template, I'm just going to sew on some guidelines, and then from there I'll count out like the stitches with, where it starts and ends on each round, so that I'll be able to follow a pattern and get the color changes right when I do the final. That's just what I'm planning right now. That may change as I go along with it, but yeah. Alright, so here's the bird after I marked out where all the colors are going to be. So the majority of the bird's going to be red, basically like the head and the body here are all going to be red. And then at the wing here, there's going to be a yellow line that cuts across, and then across the back from here down will be yellow until this line. Same thing on the other wing. And then like the bottom part of the bird will be blue down here. And just to incorporate in that other shade of blue, this little triangle here will be dark blue, and then the rest of the tail here will be red again. Okay, so I didn't think filming the head would be worth it, because basically all I did was I did 6 single crochets in the magic ring, and then just kind of increased in increments of 6, and then I did a couple of rows of just single crochets in every stitch, and then finally, to create that kind of divide between the head and the body, I did 1 round of decreasing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet in the front loops, and then we can start worrying about all of these color changes. So now here you could see the comparison between this bird and this one. So what I think I'm going to do is in the next round I'll just crochet as normal, yet for this portion of the back right here, I'll do that in yellow. So yeah, this is just going to take a lot of counting stitches, patience, yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to this model. I think this point on the bird right here is going to be the start of my row, because it doesn't really matter. So if you just count the stitches here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, There's 7 stitches until this kind of slopes upwards in the back portion here. So I'm just going to crochet 6 stitches right now. And of course, as I'm crocheting, I'm also doing what the pattern is telling me to do. So 4 stitches, then increase, and also crocheting in the front loops only. Alright, I have to switch hooks. This hook is way too small for this thick yarn. For the next round, we're going to put the yellow color change here so that the yellow extends all the way around to here to match what's going on this bird. So for this round, I'm just going to do a row of yellow just like I'd done in the last row. In the next row, to transition into blue, I'm going to do 2 extra stitches of this pink color because I don't want any of it to peek out of the side of this wing. And then I'm going to continue with blue until about here, and then I'll switch back to yellow and then switch back to blue and then back to pink so that there's a bit of a curve to this line. What I've done is first I've crocheted with blue over this yellow section. Then I did 1 row where I extended out the red a little bit further and just crocheted the rest blue. And now we're going to begin decreasing, just like how we increased on top of the head. And basically what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to decrease as normal, just doing the color changes, and then somewhere close to the middle, because I don't want the blue to go all the way to the center. I'll cut it off like a couple rows in, and then it'll just be red in the middle. So here we have the finished body. As you can see here, I just decreased until I closed it and ended the blue right here, and the yellow has this kind of curved look across the back, which makes it look a bit more natural than just straight stripes. And also this part has a bit of shape as well. Overall, I think it's looking really good. And next we're just going to work on the wings, which is the part that I'm probably most worried about because of the type of color changes that are going on here and the size. The thickness of the yellow yarn really didn't end up making that big of an impact. If anything, it was good because it made this back a little bit larger than the front. So, it looks a bit more like a bird over here, which is cool. So I completed the wings off camera because they were pretty difficult, but here's what they look like. So basically what I did was 3 yellow stitches and 1 red stitch in the magic ring. So then that makes 1/4 of the wing red, except for the end. I crocheted yellow. This one looks okay, and this one is questionable, but it's okay. Next, we're moving on to the tail, which I'm also probably going to do off camera because there's going to be a ton of color changes. Alright, so I've just finished the tail. The markings didn't come out as strongly as I'd hoped, but they're still kind of there and you can kind of see that V shape. And finally, the last thing we have to do is the beak. Due to the thickness of that yellow yarn, I'm not sure how well an actual crocheted beak would be sized compared to the rest of the bird. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and embroider on something right there and see how it goes. And worst comes to worst, I can always just cut it off and do it a different way. So I just added on the eyes and now it's finished. It's not bad, though it's not the best thing I've ever made, and I like the unicorn a lot better. Some things that did not help were the thickness of the yarns, the scale, because I made it quite small because I didn't want to spend a ton of time on it, but then in turn that made the color changes and everything just like really get in the way. Some things I do like is the back before all of these pieces were added on. I really liked the shape I'd achieved with the color changes. This wing is nice, the other one isn't. And the tail is okay. I do like how I stitched on the beak like this. Got major flashbacks to this summer when I did 88 of them. Macaws have this like white eye mask thing around their eyes and the beak shape is completely different, but obviously I didn't have white, so couldn't do that. So yeah, it kind of looks like the bird. I'd be open to modifying this pattern into making it into another bird that didn't have as many color variations. And here's the bottom of the bird. I really wish I didn't have to use this dark blue so that I could have used this lighter blue. I think it would have made the whole thing look a lot more cohesive, because this just looks awkward here. Or maybe I could have made just like these last couple rows this color, but I don't know. From certain angles it looks okay. Here's what both pieces look like completed. I'm really happy with how the unicorn came out, and I think it would also look nice with different color variations besides the one I made. I think I compensated well for the easy color palette and the complexity of the design. With the macaw, I'm not completely happy with how it came out. The thickness of the yellow yarn messed up the proportion of the wings, and the color changes ended up making it look messy. It definitely would have been better if I'd made the tail the same blue color as the body, and maybe even removed the wings. Overall, this challenge was a lot of fun, though if I ever do it again in the future, I'll only do one round because 2 was a lot of work and made for a really long video. I'm sorry if this video was really boring, but if you're still here at the end, feel free to subscribe for more fuzzy sock plushies, crochet, sewing, and whatever else I feel like doing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.